1. I have not prayed in years. The only time I go to church is when I visit my mother's house, and even then, my tongue practices a carefully mimed choreography when we bow our heads to say grace. I say thank you for your mercy, for the roof over our heads, for our silent bellies, which allow us to have this ritual in peace. 2. At the homeless clinic where I work, we do not say grace. Instead, we gather our plates around the dinner table like a campfire and tell each other our stories. Like about how C hopped the freight train all the way from Minnesota to Berkeley, how the midnight sky opened up to him like a belly showing off its scars. I ask if he'd share some too. The bags under his eyes that somehow look heavier tonight than the pack he hoists over his shoulders. The bruises speckled along his elbows for sleeping on the sidewalk last night. I ask him to tell us of home, and he grows silent, staring into his cup like it's filled with stars. This is our 13th week together, and C still guards his stories as well as I guard mine. The way we sometimes reduce our biographies to static motions and gestures, write ourselves out of our own poetry with shallow words and syllables, bend our tongues into beautiful empty shapes on stage and around dinner tables. 3. Mom asks me why I do not go to church anymore. I point to the stained glass and vaulted ceilings of our Sunday sanctuary and ask why God needs a house when he does not shiver, when he does not bruise or sleep at night, when over 200 youth sleep on the streets in Berkeley outside a shelter that only has room for 25, when 7 people have frozen to death since November here, in the wealthiest metropolitan area in the U.S., when even the most powerful entity in the universe requires a home. What do we do with our runaways, with our abandoned youth? The ones with no family or congregation to come home to, the ones that compete with your Sunday tithes, your morning frappuccino, your data plan, and your ability to feed your own with sullen eyes and dirty collection plates. 4. It is getting colder outside. The rainy season is coming, and my youth ask me about safe places to sleep at night. There are 2 abandoned buildings standing between my house and the shelter where I work. They are the only place that graffiti blossoms in this neighborhood. Mercy is the spray paint of these 2 buildings flickering in the headlights of passing cars like a neon enter sign. Dr. King says, I know where we can store that food free of charge, and I contemplate the bellies of these twin beasts, these empty edifices, how best to break into broken windows without cutting ourselves, how best to weave caution tape into blankets and welcome mats without alerting the authorities, how best to make shelters of abandoned buildings, vacant lots, couches, hallways, backseats, subway cars, park benches, closets, street corners, and floorboards fast and free of charge. 5. When the rain comes, C does not come back to clinic. It is the first week we did not see him in 4 months. I imagine the clouds disappearing with every mile his train lurches south, the night sky opening above him the color of stained glass. It is easier than imagining him jailhouse, back of police car cuffed for trespassing on deserted property, for shivving his body through the boarded windows of one of the abandoned houses between home and the clinic. It is easier than imagining him hypothermia, lips blue and silent for refusing to push himself through another shattered window. 6. At clinic, we hold each other's stories in our mouths like warm food, because it is the closest thing we have to summoning each other back when we have become nothing but distant memory, because it is a reminder of how far some of us have had to run to be here. Dr. King speaks of millions sleeping on the streets of Bombay, Calcutta, the millions that go to sleep hungry in Asia, Africa, Latin America, and even our own nation. I speak of the dozens of sleepless youth that gather around our table in Berkeley every Monday, 7 to 9, before stealing back into the night. Not all of us pray, but sometimes we bend our tongues into beautiful shapes, beckoning each other to enter, get comfortable, and make yourself home.
Give it up one more time for Gabriel, everybody.